right. Can you guess where we're going tonight? The book of Hebrews. Continuation of the Salad series. Looking at the Let Us passages in the book of Hebrews. Though I threw several people off by giving them a title for my message that wasn't Let Us or something like that. It's Salad series, the title of this one. I'm calling Got Grace, like got milk, got grace. What comes to your mind when you think of a graceful person? But what comes to your mind when someone said, or what comes to your mind when I say a graceful person? Maybe what comes to your mind is someone like a gymnast or ballet dancer, who perfect control of their body movements, perfect execution of their routine. They've got it down pat. Solid confidence in their ability, complete physical mastery. How did they achieve that? Hours and days and years of practice to be graceful in that way. Maybe you think of some very important person who embodies traits of grace, like perhaps a Prince Charming sort of, or Cinderella sort of figure. Serene, in control of the room, sort of a palpable authority, magnanimous and courteous. If you think of someone like that, where do those characteristics come from them, for them? Well, often it's from being part of a family that has wealth, power, or nobility. They're kind of brought up that way. Often these manifestations of grace become, however, a wall, whether accidentally or on purpose. The gymnast or the ballerina who has spent years training, especially when we think of those Olympic gymnasts, for example, spend years training, and that's what they eat, breathe, and sleep. And so a lot of times we can't really relate to them, and they can't necessarily relate to us. And I don't really need to go into detail about a person of nobility or wealth or power. That grace is really a sort of a wall to keep people away a lot of times. It's a polite rebuff, but still a rebuff. The writer of Hebrews tells his audience of believers in the passage that we're going to look at in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 28 and 29, he tells them that they should have grace. Now, the way it's acquired for believers, in some ways, kind of similar to maybe the gymnast or the prince or princess, but it's also different. And its purpose is a whole lot different. The grace that the believer should have should not be a wall. It should actually draw people to us. So let us talk for a few minutes about the grace that we should have as believers. Let's start at the top and go through this passage bit by bit, use it as our outline. Okay, so Hebrews chapter 12, verses 28 and 29. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I pray that you would speak to us from your word. I pray that you would fill me with your spirit. As I share what you've laid on my heart tonight, I pray that it would be a blessing, encouragement, and challenge to those here tonight. Help us to learn about grace. Lord, as you are a gracious God, we sang about some of your attributes in the song that we just sang, and one of those is also grace. Just pray that you would show us your grace and help us to show grace to those around us. We ask it in Jesus' name. So we'll start right at the beginning with the word wherefore. Wherefore. Wherefore is kind of like therefore. And when you see that, you should probably ask yourself the question as you're reading, what is it there for? It's pointing back to something. And see, throughout the book of Hebrews, you see this, you see wherefore or therefore or for, like in verse 29, for our God, is pointing to what came before it as evidence or proof of what it's saying right here in the passage. So it's very useful to go back and say, what is it talking about? And to understand 4 or 5 verses in the book of Hebrews, sometimes you have to back up to the previous 10 verses, or maybe the whole chapter, or even a previous chapter. Sometimes you got to go all the way back to the Old Testament to figure out exactly what it's referring to. And in some ways, that's what makes the book of Hebrews difficult, is it's building layer upon layer upon layer. If you come in the middle, you've got to backtrack a little bit to get the context of what he's talking about. It makes it difficult. But not only it builds on itself, and it builds on passages in the Old Testament, and yes, it makes it difficult, but get this. This is one of the things I like so much about this book, is it just ties it all together. The Old Testament and New Testament. It just weaves it all together very simply and very clearly. And it shows that God's plan from the very beginning was to send Jesus Christ to die for the world's sins. It's all right there, and it's all tied up. It makes sense. All of the Old Testament. We'll see some of that as we work through this passage. But back to our specific wherefore. Wherefore? Well, we have to back up. So let's back up to verse 25. It says, see that ye refuse not him that speaketh, for if they escape not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. That's what wherefore is pointing back to. It's talking about the fact that there is some sort of shaking that's coming. Turn to the book of Haggai. Yeah. That's a tricky one to say. Chapter 2. Because what it says here, this word yet once more, says, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. There in Haggai, it says in chapter 2, verses 6 and 7, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, yet once, it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land. And I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come, and I will fill this house with glory, saith the Lord of hosts. He's speaking about the glory that was going to come in that latter temple that they were working on building after returning from the land and from being in captivity. And it's a promise of the coming Messiah. That Jesus, the Messiah, was going to appear in that place. And no, the city had been devastated, and they were in the process of rebuilding, and the temple was gone, and it wasn't what it was, and they were all despondent and sad. And the prophet comes along and says, don't worry. Their nation had been taken away. They weren't a nation of their own anymore, and they still aren't. And the prophet says, don't worry. These nations are going to get shaken. You are my people. But there is a shaking coming. And that's what, if we turn back to Hebrews chapter 12, this is what it's pointing back to. It says, God says, I will shake all of creation. The mountains, the hills, the seas, Everything physical in this world, God is going to shake. And not just the physical stuff, but the nations of this world too. God is going to shake those one day. That shaking is the tribulation. That stretch of time before Jesus bodily returns to the earth again. A time of destruction. It says here in our passage, yet once more signifying the removing of those things that are shaken. Some things are going to fall off when that tribulation comes.